Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and boy is it glad to be back because in today's video we're going to be doing a little bit of short-term technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets. Now, of course, there were videos up yesterday and the day before yesterday, but those videos were pre-recorded. I was not recording those an hour or so before the video went live, as I am doing today and as I do every day. And in today's video, I'm very happy to be back because while I was gone, Bitcoin decided to finally do something a little bit interesting, and we saw Bitcoin break bullish here out of this consolidation pattern that we were watching right before I left. This one right here, we talked about how Bitcoin very well may break bullish out of this, and I did also warn of potential bearish price action to come. We saw our bullish breakout. We hit resistance up here around the magical number of $4,200, and we've pulled back down. Bitcoin broke out, and then it crashed. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing exactly what happened here, and I'm going to be talking about the potential ramifications of this because this could actually be pretty bad for Bitcoin. We're going to be explaining all of that and more in today's video, guys. I do think we have a good video lined up because we have something interesting to talk about, and I have a lot of concepts that I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of. So if you enjoyed today's video and you're glad that I'm back, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. It does help out the channel if you do it. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and bring that trend line back down here. No, now I got to get my pincer out, and then we're going to bring it back down here. Anyway, Bitcoin at the time of recording this video, now that I am back, is currently trading around $3,800. I leave you guys alone for 2 days and you give me 11% bearish candlestick. What is going on here, guys? I didn't tell you to do that. But either way, Bitcoin has crashed about 10% depending on the chart you're looking at. On Coinbase, it's about 11%. On Bitfinex, it's somewhere around 11% as well. Actually, I thought it was a little bit shorter on Bitfinex, but it's actually the same. Interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump on over to CoinMarketCap, and we'll go ahead and get right on into the technical analysis because we do see a lot of blood here on CoinMarketCap today. Bitcoin over the last 24 hours, I know that this crash happened a little bit ago, about 12, 16 hours ago. But anyway, about 12 to 14 hours ago, about 20, in the last 24 hours or so, Bitcoin crashed, and Bitcoin is, at the time of recording this, down by 4.5%. 4.75% over the last 24 hours. Ethereum is down 10%. XRP is down 5%. EOS is down 12.5%. Big losing, a lot of big losers today. Bitcoin SV is doing the opposite of what the rest of the market does. As usual, it's up 5% because it just is that one person who likes to go against the crowd. USD coin's up. But the vast majority of the cryptocurrency market is in the red. If we sort by change over the last 24 hours here, we're going to see Safe is up 45%, Engine Coin is up 20%, Theta is almost up 10%, and that's about it. The rest of the market is red, and it's a rather deep red as well. This is not just a kind of light red where we see just some red and we see some Bitcoin bearishness and some altcoin bearishness. This is a very red day. We've lost a lot of valuation. Bitcoin market capitalization has dropped several $billion. Not a great day for Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency markets. But of course, guys, just because it's been a bad day in the short term does not mean that the long term is bearish. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. One thing that I did want to point out is this ridiculous volume we're seeing on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's 24-hour volume is around $11 billion. Guys, that is absurd. We're looking at $40 billion worth of daily volume on the entire cryptocurrency markets. We have not seen volume that high in a long time. As we can see here, if we come in the last year, on Bitcoin's chart, volume has been steadily rising, and we see that it is continuing to rise. For a long time here, Bitcoin's daily volume was hovering in between $3 and $4 billion, and it's been slowly trending upwards and upwards and upwards over the last several months. For a while here, we were hovering around $5 to $6 billion, and lately we've been hovering over $8 billion. Now, of course, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Bitcoin has been breaking out recently. There has been a lot more rallies in Bitcoin. There has been a lot more to talk about in Bitcoin, but that's a very good thing for Bitcoin because one thing that I was concerned about, and the time that I was most concerned for Bitcoin is not recently when Bitcoin's down here around $3,000. It was actually over here when Bitcoin was trading above $6,000 and was about to break it. I was more concerned about Bitcoin back over here in this time period because there was no volatility, there was no volume, and there was very little retail investor interest. And now, even though Bitcoin's broken $6,000, and even though Bitcoin is down 10% or so in the last 36 hours, even though all these things are happening, retail interest is going up and volume is going up to levels that we haven't seen since the end of the 2017 bear market. And, well, actually, I mean, we've seen this kind of thing at the beginning of the bear market, but it's been about a year since we've really seen consistent volume this high, and I am very happy to see that, and I did want to point it out here in today's video. Anyway, the vast majority of the market is red. We see Ethereum is trading around $140, XRP is around 30 cents, EOS around $3.58. Remember, guys, all of those cryptocurrencies started out at zero, so they're still always in the green. But anyway, let's go ahead and get on into the technical analysis and talk about this breakout and subsequent crash and try and get to the bottom of what exactly happened here. If you guys go back on the channel when I was doing shorter term technical analysis before I left for my trip, then I was talking about how I was very worried about Bitcoin breaking bearish here. I kind of foresaw this coming, and I talked about it many times in videos. You can go back, there's 3 or 4 different videos where I talked about a scenario like this. I didn't necessarily talk about Bitcoin breaking bullish and then breaking bearish. A lot of the times I was talking about Bitcoin breaking straight bearish here because there was a lot of resistance around $4,000, and there still is. We have to be careful about that as well. But I was very concerned about Bitcoin breaking bearish here. And one of the reasons was that Bitcoin, even though it's in a better state right now with the volume, and even though the fundamentals are looking better than they were a couple of months ago, even though Bitcoin's generally trending upwards here in February, even though all of those things are looking very healthy, Bitcoin is still not in a bull market. Bitcoin is not in a state where it can rally up and up and up and up and up. We don't have the mainstream media talking about Bitcoin as much. We don't have mom and pop getting into Bitcoin as much. We don't see college students investing money that they don't have because they have to pay student loans into Bitcoin anymore. We don't see those kind of things happening in Bitcoin right now. We will in the future, but right now Bitcoin is still struggling with a lot of these problems that plague bear markets and accumulation phases. So when Bitcoin goes on major rallies like we've seen in the last couple of weeks where Bitcoin had a massive rally, pennant, massive rally, pennant, massive rally, crash. You kind of start to expect a crash like this because Bitcoin simply can't sustain it. And that's what I was talking about. The strength of the bulls was not necessarily in the favor of the bulls, I should say. Now, we did manage to see a bullish breakout here because we had a lot of exuberance. We did see that a lot of people were very happy with Bitcoin, and we did puncture a lot of resistance at $4,000. I'm not going to go over what all of that resistance was, but I will mention it very briefly. We were looking at a couple of different moving averages, a Fibonacci level, and 2 or 3 different levels of resistance as far as trend lines are concerned. We saw a lot of resistance around $4,000, as well as 4K being a level of resistance just because it's a big even. We were looking at a lot of resistance, so I'm very happy to see that the bulls were able to push Bitcoin through this. But also, since markets are cyclical, it tends to happen, and it tends to be the case that after the bulls have had their time for a little while, and we're not in a bull market, the bears are going to have their time for a little while. So it's not all that surprising that we've seen a bearish breakout here. Now, with all that said, and now that we kind of understand why Bitcoin did this, a lot of it just had to do with bullish exhaustion and the fact that the bears had to have their chance again. Where are we going from here? I know that's what you guys are all here to see. What do you think is going to happen in the next couple of days and on into the next couple of weeks? Well, let's talk about that. Because what we see right now is that Bitcoin has had its little bearish breakout, and Bitcoin finds itself in a bit of a flag down here. Now, you can draw this in different ways. You could draw this as a pennant. You could draw it as a pennant like this. You can draw it as a flag like this. Either way, it means the same thing. It means the exact same thing as the 2 pennants that we saw over here in Bitcoin more recently. We saw when Bitcoin went into a triangle pennant here for a week and a half or so, it was a continuation pattern. When we saw Bitcoin go into a symmetrical triangle pattern and a pennant right here, it was a continuation pattern. And flags are no different. They tend to be continuation patterns, and that's what we've seen come out of Bitcoin here over the last couple of hours. And the fact remains that even though Bitcoin was very bullish here for a while, and even though Bitcoin was looking very strong here for a while, and even though the long term for Bitcoin still looks up, it seems that on the short term, it's going to be bearish for Bitcoin, and it seems anyway that Bitcoin is going to continue being bearish for a little while. Now, that may change. Bitcoin very well may break bullish out of this and start moving to the upside and go breach those levels of resistance before. I've seen that kind of thing happen multiple times. Many, many times, Bitcoin will look bearish. The technicals will point bearish. You'll see a bear flag like this. Maybe RSI is in the toilet. Maybe MACD is bearish. Maybe a stochastic RSI is crashing. Maybe all the technicals are telling you one thing and the market will do the opposite. That does happen, and you do have to be careful of that. But more often than not, in this scenario, Bitcoin is going to break bearish, so I think that's the right call to make right now. Now, with that said, will Bitcoin break bullish? There's a chance, and you should always be ready for that. If Bitcoin does break bullish, it's not a terrible idea, guys, to have a buy order up here just as a hedge for Bitcoin breaking bearish, because if Bitcoin does break bullish, there's money to be made in that breakout. There's no reason not to have a buy order up here. I'm not telling you how to make your trades. I'm just telling you that you might want to consider doing something like that. That's definitely something you could think about, but more often than not, Bitcoin is going to break bearish here, and that is what I want to talk about here, because if Bitcoin does break bearish, then this could be bad on the long term. Now, it's not that big a deal in the short term. Now, that seems surprising. It's not that big a deal in the short term. Now, I think Bitcoin definitely has a potential to crash all the way down here to around $3,560 on Coinbase and a little bit higher on Bitfinex. But I don't see Bitcoin necessarily going below this uptrend of support right here, for the time being anyway. This uptrend right here on this longer term consolidation pattern I think is very strong, and I don't think Bitcoin's going to go below that, but that said, we may come down and test that. What I'm concerned about is one of the longer term scenarios that I laid out in a more recent video about 4 days ago. I talked about the potential of Bitcoin either breaking bullish out here and then crashing back down into this consolidation pattern. You can go back into that video, and I laid out exactly what I thought about what would happen if this exact scenario happens, where Bitcoin breaks bullish and then falls back down into the triangle. I talk about exactly the scenario, And I'm going to talk about it again because I want to refresh your mind because this is very important. If Bitcoin does, well, at the time, if Bitcoin did what it has done now and falls back down into this longer-term symmetrical triangle pattern, this could be bad on the long term. And like I said in that video, let me explain why. If Bitcoin comes down here and tests support and starts bouncing around in this triangle pattern and tries to drag out this triangle pattern to completion, or even let's say that because of this breakout we want to redraw the triangle pattern to something like this, it doesn't matter. We're still in a triangle pattern of some sort. If Bitcoin continues to follow this triangle pattern into its completion, then it's more likely than not that this is going to form one gigantic pennant and Bitcoin is going to break bearish, and that would be very, very bad for the long-term technicals of Bitcoin. Let's go back out to the weekly chart and I'll remind you why. If we bring up our moving averages, remember that our moving average, let's go out here to the BLX exchange so that we can get a little cleaner chart. Remember that this moving average, the 200 weekly moving average, the simple moving average, is trading right below this uptrend of support. So if Bitcoin breaks this uptrend of support, then Bitcoin is more than likely going to break the 200 weekly moving average. And if that happens, that is going to be a break of market structure, the likes of which we've never seen in Bitcoin, so it's going to be much harder for us to predict what would happen. It's very possible that from there the bear market would continue and Bitcoin could fall below $3,000 down towards levels between $1,000 and $2,000. And I know it sounds like I'm hyping things up and that I'm being hyperbolic or something like that. I'm not. This is really important, guys. It's very important that you understand that because Bitcoin has broken bearish here, and because Bitcoin, at the time anyway, has not broken bullish out of this consolidation pattern, there is a big risk that Bitcoin could come down here and break bearish out of this longer term consolidation pattern. And if it does, it could be very bad for Bitcoin. Now, I'm not trying to be a doomsdayer. I'm not trying to, a doomsayer, whatever word. I'm not trying to be a soothsayer or anything. I'm not trying to tell Julius Caesar he's going to be stabbed or anything. I'm just letting you guys know that this could develop into something very bad. With that said, on the short term, I'm not very concerned about this. On the longer term, I am concerned about it, but on the short term, I'm not that concerned about it. It's very possible that we're going to see a bearish breakout here, guys. One of the first price targets I'd be looking at is this level down here, around $3,560 that we established in this descending triangle pattern that Bitcoin was in back over here. That would be the first price target I'm looking at here for Bitcoin to break bearish. Now, guys, remember, it's also very possible that Bitcoin trades sideways or breaks bullish, but more than likely, Bitcoin is going to break bearish out of this and continue moving to the downside. The bears are definitely the ones that are in control of the market. They definitely have the initiative right now because they've stolen it from the bears up here at the highs right below the answer to the life universe and everything plus 2 zeros up here at 42. Anyway, guys, I think I've been rambling on enough. I think you guys get the point. I think you understand that the initiative is out of control of the bulls and in the control of the bears. We see that shorts are crashing, but so too were longs. Now, longs have been crashing again. They started rallying when Bitcoin broke out, but they started crashing again after Bitcoin crashed itself. And it's really just kind of it's a weird scenario, guys. Anyway, guys, I've been gone for a couple of days. I just got back, and I'm very happy to be back. I was very much looking forward to making this video this morning, and I'm very happy that I'm getting to do it right now. I love watching you guys talk in the comments section. I love that you guys watch these videos. I'm humbled every single time I see even one more view come into the channel. It is always amazing to me, and it always astounds me how many of you guys there are that want to listen to what I have to say about Bitcoin. It's very humbling, and I really do appreciate it. I love you guys so much, and I do want to thank you for your support as always. If you do want to show your support, you can definitely consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell. Shameless self-promotion. I will be completely shameless in that. But anyway, guys, I really do appreciate it. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.